Clearly, the one who almost drowned and became a water ghost was Lan Wangji. Yet now, it was Wei Wuxian who was being fretted over with care and affection. Wei Wuxian's heart felt sour and bittersweet, overwhelmed by a flood of emotions. When he was young, the only person who would tightly hold him when he was cold or injured was Zhang Yanli. Back then, he thought that must be what a mother's love felt like. Later, as they grew older, the distinction between genders limited their interactions to just head pats and hand-holding. How long has it been since he experienced simply leaning close to someone, feeling the other person's skin touching his own, gently rubbing together, and truly connecting with someone through shared body heat? Cold water, clothes clinging damply to their bodies, chests rising and falling in contact, the other's breath and pulse felt at his side. Wei Wuxian thought back to when he first met Lan Wangji, when they had a playful bet in the cold springs. It's incredible to think about it now. Lan Wangji, such a rigid person, was willing to join his newly acquainted self in such playful antics. In the eyes of others, second young master Lan might be perceived as a person who kept people at a distance. But Wei Wuxian never saw him that way. Rather, it was more of a fluctuating state. It seemed that ever since they met, Lan Wangji's attitude towards him was somewhat unpredictable. Sometimes, when Wei Wuxian approached him, Lan Wangji would politely step back 3 paces, maintaining a proper boundary and etiquette in their interactions. Yet, at other times, when Wei Wuxian would enthusiastically rub against him, Lan Wangji seemed to give up and accept it without avoiding or retreating. Like that time in the cold spring, when Wei Wuxian was freezing and directly hugged Lan Wangji, treating him like a human heater. However, Wei Wuxian later thought that it was very likely that Lan Wangji wasn't silently tolerating his antics. Instead, he might have been so shocked by Wei Wuxian's shameless move that he became rigid and immobile on the spot. For Wei Wuxian, the situation was somewhat similar. Despite his typically boisterous and approachable demeanor with everyone, directly facing a big man with chest-to-chest contact was unprecedented for him. At least with Zhang Cheng, whom he had grown up with, he had never done such a thing. Perhaps it was a case of love at first sight that deepened over time. At that moment, the budding feelings between the two had unknowingly taken root, until a sudden and unexpected marriage broke through the delicate and ambiguous barrier, awakening their hearts to the truth. And now, the cool scent of sandalwood entwined with Lan Wangji's breath brushed against his nose, causing his heart to beat a little faster and stirring the threads of his memories. It suddenly reminded him of their wedding night, when drunken Lan Wangji held him for the first time. Clearly not knowing how to perform marital duties, he simply observed 2 small rabbits stacking on each other and mimicked their behavior. "Are you still cold?" Lan Wangji's low, magnetic voice brushed against his ear. Wei Wuxian bit his lips, reached out his hands, and touched Lan Wangji's back. "Lan Zhan, I miss you." He could hear Lan Wangji's breathing abruptly halt beside his ears. "I miss you all over. I miss it when you kiss me. Kiss me everywhere." As he spoke, he pushed Lan Wangji towards the shore. Lan Wangji moved slightly, somewhat at a loss, and retreated a few steps, then dumbfoundedly let Wei Wuxian push him all the way to the grassy shore. "Do you know, the water here is really cold. You warmed me outside, but inside I'm still freezing. Since you started, you need to take responsibility and warm me up inside as well." Wei Wuxian panted lightly, one hand sliding to Lan Wangji's waistband, yanking it off. He also loosened Lan Wangji's belt quickly. The 2 of them stumbled along, and Lan Wangji's clothes were stripped off by Wei Wuxian along the way. Wei Ying. A few strands of Wei Wuxian's black hair on his forehead had curled into adorable little waves after being wetted, obediently sticking to the corners of his forehead while water droplets occasionally trickled down. His complexion, paler than usual due to the cold, made his long, inky eyebrows even more accentuated. His half-lowered eyelashes trembled with his gaze, each one distinctly visible. Below, Wei Wuxian's elegantly curved nose, his lips, wet and tinged with a rosy hue, parted slightly with a hint of restless affection. Lan Wangji's heart rose and fell gently as he watched, momentarily losing his composure. As Wei Wuxian moved, he babbled nonsense, his breathing becoming increasingly labored. Lan Zhan, do you know how to get warm inside? Let me tell you, friction generates heat, rubbing sticks to make fire. Do you know how... Lan Wangji's body was shining white as if glowing entirely, with long, glossy black hair sticking to his chest, accentuating its rise and fall clearly. Leaning sideways, he looked up at Wei Wuxian. Wei Wuxian licked his lips, glancing downwards at him with a sideways glance. One finger lifted his own belt, and his damp clothes slowly peeled away from his chest, revealing a beautifully contoured and smooth expanse of chest. The clothes slipped down his slightly lean yet smooth and strong shoulders, and, with a light lift of his wrist, he casually tossed them to the ground. Second young Master Lan. His breath was scorching, his face seemingly calm as he knelt before Lan Wangji, his eyes misty but his voice dry and hoarse as fire. There's no one here. Why don't you tell me? How do you like me to do it? His burning cheek pressed close to Lan Wangji's face, the corner of his lips slightly upturned. Or, how do you like to have me? Wei Ying. He poked Lan Wangji's lower abdomen with a finger. Lan Wangji panted, raised his neck slightly, and swallowed with difficulty. The clear swallowing sound almost betrayed him. He forced himself to restore sanity. Wei Ying, not here. We can't... Wei Wuxian raised his eyebrows and said, Why can't? Lan Wangji's chest rose and fell violently, and one hand suddenly clasped his wrist. Wei Ying. Lan Zhan. Wei Wuxian attached to his ear. If you tell me that you don't like, I will stop. Lan Wangji opened his mouth, but he was choked, unable to say those 3 words, so he could only forcefully close his eyes. The next moment, Wei Wuxian was pushed aside by a violent slap on his shoulder. Unexpectedly, 1 or 2 sharp stones hidden in the grass left a red mark on his arm, a pain that burned and chilled him simultaneously. You, he hissed, propping himself up and looking incredulously at Lan Wangji. Lan Wangji's face was instantly filled with guilt. Wei Ying, I'm sorry, are you hurt? He moved forward on his knees to check the injury, but Wei Wuxian pushed him away resentfully. Lan Wangji, who was shoved to the ground, appeared slightly pale, as the dull pain in his body and heart began to clear his mind. Sorry, I was too impulsive just now. His eyes were filled with caution. Wei Ying, we really can't go against the clan rules anymore. If Uncle finds out. The voluntary and fervent advances were rejected so forcefully by the other party, shattering Wei Wuxian's youthful dignity into pieces. His eyes turned red as he tried to swallow down the humiliating feeling, his voice hoarse as he muttered, There's no one here. Lan Wangji sighed softly and said in a calm voice, Wei Ying, it is Yunshin here. Everywhere there are manners. Everywhere there are rules. Even if we are married, we shouldn't act on impulses whenever we want. Such unruly and willful behavior. Wei Wuxian suddenly raised his eyes to meet Lan Wangji's gaze. That gaze was clearly filled with gentleness and encouragement, yet it made him feel uneasy. Almost anxiously, he said, I thought you liked it that way. Weren't you always? Lan Wangji gently shook his head.